I could have seen Priscilla or Ferrari, but it's really too early in the year for two up their own arse biopics. So, as any good weeb would do, I turned them down to see some very pretty Japanese animation. It feels like a long time since a Studio Ghibli film has been put on the big screen in the West, and I admit I committed the ultimate sin in watching this anime in its dubbed version, as unfortunately that was the only version playing at my cinema. Despite dubbed anime being an absolute abomination, they've clearly tried to make up for it by having the most stacked Hollywood voiceover cast of all time, even if Christian Bale, Willem Dafoe, and Dave Bautista only have very small roles. I spent a lot of time while watching this movie trying to figure out who was playing who, and to my surprise, the creepy, weird, and gross pelican was played by creepy, weird, and debatably gross Robert Pattinson, who, let's be fair, for a first-time voice actor role, absolutely knocked it out of the park. Seriously, you would never guess it was him. And yes, the Heron in the title isn't obviously what it seems. He's a pedophile dressed as a heron. Well, not really, but he certainly looks like, sounds like, and acts like one for a good portion of the film. The basic plot, set in World War II Japan, revolves around a young Japanese boy called Mahito, who moves to a countryside estate with his widowed father. His father has remarried, and his new wife is expecting a baby. Mahito obviously isn't happy that his mother has been replaced, and also that he has had to move from his home in Tokyo. After getting bullied at his new school, and then hitting himself in the head in order to get out of going, and also most likely as a representation of his malice towards the new situations, he is accosted by a talking heron, who advises that his mother is still alive, and urges him to come into this tower, which is hidden deep within the estate grounds. This film has a slow start, and I mean slow, and then it gets into its weird and wonderful stride. And it's weird, in the best way Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki know. The feel of this film is that of Pan's Labyrinth meets Alice in Wonderland. That should give you a pretty good indication of what to expect. No bad thing, but we've all been here before. Visually, it's more of what we know and love from Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. Beautifully crafted, wonderfully creative, and truly inspired at times. The iconic visual style we have seen in previous films continues to triumph on the big screen, with some uniquely animated sequences and well-directed moments. One thing that always impresses me is how creative the studio is with its movement animations. They always try to show the most nuanced and unique movements of characters, none more so as Mahito crawling backwards to his room slowly as to not disturb his father and stepmother from his prone position at the top of the staircase. It's a unique choice of movement, but fascinating in its execution. That sounds boring as shit, but trust me, watch the movement choices and how they animate it. It's genuinely unique to any animation you have ever seen. There are also a host of other gorgeous animations on display, particularly the opening Inferno sequence and a sequence involving lots of tissues and the pregnant wife. Take your mind out of the gutter. You cannot fault it. It's that Miyazaki Studio Ghibli style, and to be honest, this is why you went to see it in the first place. The grannies are so fucking creepy though. It's like the witch from Spirited Away, multiplied. The voice acting is passable enough, but I wouldn't say it really hits any emotional highs. In fact, the main payoff and arc for Mahito doesn't really make sense, or doesn't get enough logical progression for us to understand his change of heart. Perhaps in the subversion, this is better expressed and explored. It therefore feels at times as if the story is missing a lot of depth, and as a result, it becomes quite forgettable, despite the amazing visuals. The movie has a lot of weird and bizarre sequences, but again, it's the visual element that makes this work, rather than the purposeful direction or written design. Musically, it's a joy. If you were asked, what does a Studio Ghibli film sound like, and you answered, a fuck ton of piano, then you are right. There is a fuck ton, and it's great. Emotive and effective, it manages to be subtle but expansive at the same time. Perfectly used with some orchestral elements, it helps strengthen its fairy tale aims and draw the audience into its carefully crafted madness. On the whole, it is unfortunate to admit that The Boy and the Heron is a bit forgettable despite the visuals and music, and that just tells you how important a good script and story are to any film. I won't be too harsh. It's still a fantastic animated film, and I would recommend you go see it, but it probably stands up better on the small screen than the big. Beautiful, uniquely animated, and more of what you love. It's another achievement for Miyazaki and the team, but ultimately loses out on being a classic for a forgettable story and a voice cast which, bar some surprises, doesn't set the world alight. Recommended, for sure. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.